Hell yes. Hey everyone, welcome to the Game Dungeon. Now last time I said we'd have a movie-based game, and that was the plan, but whoops, looks like it's the 4th of July. So I guess we're having the 4th of July episode instead. Uh-oh. Yeah, I couldn't do it, guys. America was too big. So we're having the American Independence Day episode instead. Yeah, let's go with that. You know how a night or two after the 4th, you sometimes hear a firework or two that people forgot about? Well, that's what this is. This episode is a Roman candle that rolled under the car seat. So with that, we're looking at The Crew, an open world driving game where you get to drive all across America. Now, where to start with this game? It's not obvious. I mean, normally you start at the beginning, right? Well, that's not gonna happen. Look at the menu here. You notice how there's no new game option? Well, this game follows in the footsteps of Darkspore. That's not a good sign. That means you get exactly one character slot, you can't delete it, and there's no backwards progression. Why? Now the good news is you can still access about 95% of the campaign content as a flashback, but not the entire start of the campaign. So I literally cannot show you the beginning of this game without buying another copy. I'm not doing that. So I'm gonna have to rip somebody else's recording who had the foresight to grab it the first time around. And this system is all made possible because this is an online-only game that relies on a central server. Uh-oh. I'm not a fan of that. Okay, I know I've pulled this trick on you before, but at the time of this video, this game is not being shut down and it's not happening next week or anything. But we'll get to that later. Let's get started, sort of. So we begin the game, or rather we watch someone else begin the game, and we're running from the cops cross-country. And the first thing I immediately notice is the gameplay. Now fans of driving games will like them for different reasons, so let's get this out of the way. If you're a fan of believable physics and car handling that's just like the real thing, there is nothing for you here. This is arcade physics all over. The game likes to play it fast and loose on the jumps and the collisions. Hey, watch me run into this tree. Boink. Oh good, I bounced off. Let's run into a mailbox. Boink. What if I brush against a wall at 90 miles an hour? Boink. Look at that recovery. I'm such a good driver. What if I hit a telephone pole? Boink. Oh good, it was made out of cardboard. I've read about people complaining about the handling in this game. I didn't have a problem with it, but that's because the game showed me what to expect right away. I think the problem is people are comparing the car driving in this game to driving a car, and instead need to look at them like rubber erasers strapped to bottle rockets. So back to the beginning, you play as... Uh-oh. Alright, we have another situation like Dungeon Siege again. I have played through this entire campaign, I've driven through every stage, and for the life of me, I do not remember the main character's name. And that's exactly how memorable he is.
The hell are you, Alex?
Okay, Alex. His name is Alex. Where do I start with this story? Okay, so you play Alex and are running from the cops, who all happen to be equipped with pickups for an off-road chase. I find it amusing that to get away from them, you just have to cross the finish line. Then they all stop and this peaceful music starts playing. That wouldn't stop me if I was a cop. After that, your handler or whoever starts bugging you to show up to the next race. So we show up to the big race. The guy we're watching aces it, naturally. Then your brother has to show up for some shady deal and blam! He's shot, dead. And the police are on the scene ready to arrest, you. Yeah, you'll do. Case closed. And, oh yeah, 5 years later. An FBI agent shows up and tells us this is all the doing of her corrupt FBI boss that likes his street racing and has a national racing gang all working for him, the 510s. So what's-her-face here needs me to infiltrate the gang, then work my way up the ladder until I'm the kingpin, literally the head of the gang, since that's the only one who gets close enough to get dirt on the FBI boss. And I get immunity to any street laws I break as a way of not blowing my cover. So, Alex puts on a canned tough guy routine about getting revenge about his brother, and he accepts. And from here, the rest of the campaign really is just about running missions to prove my worth and making it to the top of the gang. Okay, what to say about this story? I have such mixed feelings about this. See, I'm used to driving games having no story at all. So the fact that this game even has one is a treat for me. Yeah, sort of. That's what I thought going in. Well, now that I've played through it and I've seen what they've done with it, it's making me reconsider everything. The problem with this game's story is it's so incredibly bland. It's not bad, it's not good. It feels like a TV show you watch to sort of put yourself to sleep that's going to get canceled after one season. Everything is safe, no one is memorable. I don't even know how you make something like this. It's like there's no vision at all. Part of the problem is Alex, our protagonist here. When you're making a driving story, you can play your protagonist a couple different ways. You can make them cocky, play them off smooth, or maybe quiet but intense. Well, the crew opts for another option, cardboard. Alex has almost no personality at all. I don't know his quirks, his likes and dislikes, his approach to life. If I had to describe him, I'd say he's kind of like a boring dad that works in accounting or something. Yeah, that's who I want to see behind the wheel in my driving action game. He wants to be number one in the race because, well, actually he doesn't really act like that. It always feels like Alex is indifferent as to whether he wins the race or not. That's what real racers are like, right? See, another part of the problem is the story isn't stupid enough. I want to say a gold standard for story in racing games is Need for Speed Most Wanted.
First, I'm gonna take your ride, then I'm gonna take your girl. Get ready for that.
Boom! That is perfection. That tells us all we need to know. Let's race. The Need for Speed series has a much richer reputation of this sort of thing. Ubisoft just doesn't have as much experience being stupid. They're still trying to figure that out, and it shows here. It's not to say they don't try. I mean, this plot line, how you have to become the head of a national gang, that's like saying you have to join the Colombian cartel and become Pablo Escobar's right-hand man. Oh yeah, that'll happen. So that's a good start. And we also have a sexy lady who's the best hacker in the world despite never using a computer and just her smartphone. So that's good. And I like how the game feels compelled to make a race out of everything. Like if you drive to a new territory, you're first supposed to check in at your hideout. Except there's a timer, better hurry up. Oh wait, nobody cares. I'm just in Miami driving to some garage. Or my favorite example of this. At one point you need to get a friend of the family out of town because the local gang may be onto them. Now they're not chasing you, nor are they even coming after you yet. You just suspect it. So the game emphasizes we want to be inconspicuous leaving. So let's drive at 200 miles an hour in the city to keep up with your friend so nobody suspects anything. And I don't have anything else to say about the story. It feels very uninspired and doesn't really distinguish itself in any way. It ends with you getting the bad guy in a very convoluted way. First you race him, but then he cheats, so you hold a gun to his head. Then you race him again, but then he cheats again, so then you finally race him. I don't... Anyway, the story is not horrible, it's just cardboard. And you know what? I feel like this is my fault. When I heard about this game having a storyline, I thought, oh good, even if it's not that great, I'll play it. And I did. And now I see this was a mistake. They should have put the resources elsewhere. I'm sorry, everyone. So what about the gameplay itself? Well, it's unremarkable. You mostly race people. Sometimes they want you to run into things. You can drive around and do some stunts for money, use money to buy cars. It has a part tuning thing which I never messed with and I beat the game, so I guess that didn't matter. I will say for the campaign, they went easy on the difficulty. If you can't beat this campaign, you're gonna have trouble beating a lot of driving games. And that is not a complaint. I will take too easy any day over too hard, since there is no ceiling as to how hard a driving game can get. None. So the campaign's just okay, nothing special. The gameplay's okay, nothing special. The graphics, we'll talk about that. Mixed bag. Yeah, that works. So why even talk about this game at all? Well, maybe because it's the biggest driving game world ever. Okay, sorry. The second
Biggest driving game world ever.
And I could be wrong, but I think this is the only open world driving game where you can drive across the entire contiguous US. So we have Florida swamps, California vineyards, Illinois cornfields, most major cities. It has the United States. Seriously, it's not an easy thing to put a number on, but this may have more variety in the environment than any other open world driving game out there. It's because it has the whole country to work with. Now, I'd say the map quality isn't the best compared to a lot of other driving games, but what makes this such an enigma is it's just sort of okay, nothing special, in every single category, except it aims for the friggin' stars in the scale. So how do you rate a game like that? So many reviews chalk this up as a mediocre game, but when I see I can drive all over the US, I'm wondering why there wasn't a parade in the streets over this. Every criticism you may hear about this game is probably true. It's just that the answer to everything is that you can drive all across the United States. Oh, the handling's not the best? Oh, well, you can drive all across the United States. There's not enough cars to choose from? Well, you can drive all across the United States. Now, I have a lot more to say, but I can do that on the road. So let's go on a 4th of July road trip across the US. Now, the game's campaign starts in Detroit, and you spiral around until you end up in LA. No, that's no good. I don't want to go to LA. Well, in Arcade America, the last 4th of July episode on the show, Joey started in LA and ended up in Woodstock. Well, this game doesn't have Woodstock, but this route looks way better. We'll end up someplace good. Let's go! So here we are in Los Angeles. I lived here briefly for a job, and yeah, the game sort of feels like the city. I used to work somewhere around here. Here's the basket center. Lots of exclusive baskets there. Too pricey for me. Downtown still looks kind of neat, and of course you have the canals. Ah, an ad for our own game inside the game. This is what corporate insecurity looks like. The Griffith Observatory. I haven't confirmed if a Terminator will show up if you wait here long enough at night. Night. Alright, let's talk about night. Night in this game is horrendous. Or rather, not night, but your headlights. Driving in the city is okay since you have lampposts everywhere, but let's look at an open road here. Here is night driving in The Crew, Need for Speed 3, a 20-year-old game, and actual night driving. Your visibility is absolute garbage. Not only do you not seem to have high beams, but you can't even turn your headlights off. They're automatic. No headlights at all would be better than this, because then at least my eyes could adjust. This game has trained me to never play it at night. So good job, game, you ruined night. It blows my mind something this basic made it past testing with a budget this big. And I have no control over the day or night cycle either. I figured it out. 1 hour of game time equals 4 minutes and 48 seconds of real time. I even have a chart to try and figure out when I can play this game, because if it's night or late evening, I may as well not even play. This sucks because I would love more night driving, but I kind of need to see more than 15 feet in front of me. Well, at least the day is good because it has sun, right? We'll get to that. Don't worry, we're gonna talk about the sun. So back to LA, Long Beach looks neat, and really this is the story with most of the cities in the game. They're not gonna get every last detail, but they get enough right to give it a similar feel. Anyway, I don't like LA. Let's get out of here. I have nothing against you if you're from LA. I just hate your city. In fact, if you live in LA, good for you. You're living out there so the rest of us don't have to. You're taking one for the team. So following Joey's route, we get to see some oil fields, those vineyards I talked about earlier, the Vandenberg Space Complex, and here we are in San Francisco. We naturally have the Golden Gate Bridge, those roads you see used in a lot of cop movies, and I couldn't find Alcatraz. I guess it escaped. And before we leave, we stop by the Circular Dot store, which is conveniently located next to the Weird store. I better pick some up. You go through a lot of these in my line of work. On the way out, Bodega Bay is scenic. And driving along the coast here in the evening can look really nice. Though, sometimes... Damn it, I'm not going to be able to put this off much longer. Let's talk about the sun. Okay, so here's the problem with the sun. It was designed by maniacs, that's the problem. Let's look at the light in early morning. Hey, that looks pretty good, huh? Oh wait, no, back up. I forgot to mention I've been tweaking the color and editing here. This is what it actually looks like in the game. God forbid we release a game that took 6 years to make with millions of dollars worth of art assets without slapping a brown tint filter on top of everything first. You're pushing my buttons, game. So back to morning, it looks nice. Hey, look at that sunrise. Beautiful. Oh, keep it coming. Yuck, what happened? Oh, now it's midday. Okay, I get that it's sunny, but why is it bleaching out the color everywhere? This game's style is to take realistic midday lighting, cross it with an overexposed photograph, then slap a brown tint filter on there. Do you hate me, game? Is that what this is? Why is it the exact same light color across the entire USA? I guess I wouldn't care about that, but this isn't a good one. It's ugly. Why do we have these complete gamma blowout settings while surrounded by forest shade? Or the middle of a swamp? Okay, it's evening again. Jesus, is there a nuclear bomb going off? Ah, now that's gorgeous. Beautiful. And that's still nice, but now I can't see the road. I mean, am I crazy? I didn't think I was so picky. Hell, I was happy with Need for Speed 3's lighting. This game had 3 art directors. I think someone should have been fired. And that's all I have to say about the sun. Okay, back to the road. Now in Arcade America, Joey skipped Washington altogether, but we'll make a quick stop in Seattle. On the way there, we pass through the giant redwood forest, and we arrive in Seattle. There's the Space Needle, and over here is Pioneer Square. I've never been to Seattle, but it looks nice. I'm sure real estate prices reflect that. And another city, another criticism. Actually, wait, we can hold off a little longer. So on the way out, we pass by Lake Tahoe. There's some posh estate out in the forest here. And we have to check out Yosemite National Park. This is great. Okay, time for the criticism. This game is just not smooth. For starters, it's impossible to run the game at 60 frames a second without stuttering. Seriously, it's impossible. Any system on the planet, doesn't matter. Oh, it'll hit 60 most of the time even. But if you put a gun to your head that's rigged to go off if it ever dips below that, then you'd be a dead man playing the crew. But even at 30, something looked off to me. So just to reduce the variables, I put all settings on minimum, something I should be over spec for. Now I'm playing this back at half speed, so this is 15 frames per second, but notice how it will lurch forward slightly in spots? Are you seeing that? Is that micro stutter? I don't know, maybe I'm crazy. But I've played a lot of other racing games that didn't make me think I was crazy. And we're still in the park heading out to Las Vegas. I remember in Arcade America I ran into a bear, but we probably don't have to worry about that out in the woods here because the BAM! Invisible rock! Totaled! Yeah, invisible rocks. You just can't be too careful when driving. And here we are in Las Vegas. Las Vegas didn't really win me over. It just looks gaudy to me. Now, despite this being an online game that lets you buy credits with real money, you cannot gamble and lose all your money immediately in Las Vegas. So what's the point of staying? Moving out. Alright, while we're here on the Salt Flats, I guess I should explain my anti-desert bias. I've heard that the environment you grow up in can determine what sort of places you feel comfortable in. Well, this is the part of the world I grew up in. So when I see desert, it's just like, what the hell? How does anything live out here? Yeah, that's what's out here, dead things. So after leaving the desert, from here we get to see some of the Rockies. That's nice. And the game sort of does what it wants with the geography, so half the time you're never completely sure what state you're in. So it appears all of North Dakota is covered in snow. Sure, why not? We get some scenic views here, and if we head a little over to the east, we come across Yellowstone National Park. And just a little bit of trivia, since this is actually on top of a supervolcano, if Yellowstone ever erupts, that might actually end most life on Earth, including humanity. Hey, look, it's Old Faithful. From here we head to the Grand Canyon, but not without passing through Salt Lake City, since we're taking the scenic route. I'm trying. Joey's route is tricky to follow. And that means it's time for another criticism. How about rain? That's a good one. When you're driving, it can sometimes rain, and it comes with the subtlety of a brick. I'm not time-lapsing anything. This is exactly how it happens. But it doesn't affect your driving, best I can tell. Plus, pedestrians don't seem to care about it either. Like the night driving, I'd love to do some driving in the rain to add to the mood, but it's just unsatisfying here. It rains every single day cycle, too. It's just a matter of when. I prefer slow and gradual shifts to both the day and weather, if not just keeping them frozen. I don't like this light switch flipping crap. To steal from another game, Burnout Paradise has an option to set your own timescale. I cannot tell you how much I wish all games with day cycles had something like this. This is what Everybody Wins looks like. And here we are at the Grand Canyon. And I have to dock points here. Listen, I realize this is a miniaturized version of the United States. It can't all be to scale, but come on, the Grand Canyon is so incredibly huge. Sure, they weren't going to make it as long, but couldn't they have made it as deep? I've seen it before, and it's one of the few things I can remember to mess with my perception as to how large something can be. My brain wasn't really ready for it. Part of the problem may be the field of view here. You notice I've been using mostly third-person views in this video. That's because everything just feels too narrow in first person. This is one of the few games I've played where I found myself really wanting one of those triple widescreen setups. Why? Anyway, leaving the Grand Canyon, from here we have some desert attractions like the giant thermometer, the airplane graveyard, Roswell, New Mexico. Again, I don't know if actual UFOs come out at night. And I admit, even though I'm not big on deserts, some of the mesas out here look pretty neat. You have to respect the giant rock. Well, I do. Moving on, we head up through Colorado, then of course, Mount Rushmore. This isn't really how the visitor center is laid out, but I guess they tried. Also, I'm sad to report that there are natural barriers on all sides. So best I can tell, it's impossible to do stunt jumps off of George Washington's head. Come on, game. You can't pretend you didn't know people were gonna want to do that. And as a side note, I feel like we have a missed opportunity, since just down the road in reality, there's actually a giant monument of Crazy Horse being constructed that's going to be 10 times the size of Mount Rushmore once it's done. There's no telling when that's gonna happen, but they've got the face done, so come on, game. And continuing Joey's route, I guess we're headed to Chicago next. But first, we have Salem Sioux, the biggest Holstein cow statue in the world. America, everyone. And in Chicago, I found the game's portrayal pretty impressive. Maybe because it's angled against the sun in a good way. We have the Cloud Gate, I think, Buckingham Fountain, and just the whole downtown area in general looks like a great place to set off fireworks to me. Now moving back south, we have a lot of farmland, and oops, I guess it's time to complain again. Well, starting with the positive, I actually think the Midwest here is one of the better areas portrayed in the game. Driving on a country road out in the middle of nowhere kind of feels like this. So what's the problem? Well, the problem is every dirt road in this game is terrible. See, exploring back roads out in the country is what I want out of this game. I want to get lost here thinking it's a little like the real thing. Well, that illusion is destroyed every time you go on a dirt road. That's because they are too damn wide. Look at how wide this road is. That is 7 car widths across. Yeah, let's have an unpaved dirt road full of potholes be the same size as what? A 5-lane road? See, that's my problem. I've driven on too many real roads. So this is a constant wake-up call that keeps me from being immersed. They've somehow fallen into the uncanny valley of roads, which I didn't even know existed until now. And there are thousands of miles of these. Thousands. And to pile on the dirt, anytime you're not on a paved road, they fling dirt on the camera. Anywhere. Doesn't matter your speed or which direction you're facing either. This would be okay if this was a single track racer where it's just a brief effect, but on a giant open world like this, and I can't turn it off for thousands of miles of road? Did anyone in development play this for more than 10 minutes at a time? Okay, that may sound nitpicky, but I've put a few hours into this game, and in my opinion, they've ruined dirt roads. All of them. But to say something positive again, the Midland here is full of hidden statues. We have a waitress statue, an astronaut statue, a cowboy statue, of course, a giant donut. Actually, LA has a giant donut too. I forgot to mention that. A giant fish, and a classic Greek statue in a rural suburbs. Works for me. Pick your own chord. Oh boy. Now from here, Joey went to Oklahoma next, but I'm not sure Oklahoma exists in this game. So we'll settle for St. Louis instead. While we head down there, I will say though, the more I play this game, the more I want more. There's such an incredible amount of work that's gone into creating America here, it could so easily be the foundation to another game on top of it. I mean, sure, the game has road challenges and crap that I didn't care about, but it also has factoids that you can find scattered across the country. Like, hey, Monument Rocks. This was the first national natural landmark in America. Or hey, this was the first mile of concrete paved road in the US. I didn't realize that.
I did not realize that. Russell, did you realize that?
No, I did not realize that.
That's a good start, but this could be so much more. In retrospect, I think they should have just axed the story and developed this sort of thing instead. So we could get a cutscene of Alex picking oranges, walking around a construction site with a hard hat, or shucking corn. I mean, that's the appeal of a road trip. You travel on the road, then you get out and do something. Between power plants, farming, commerce, and residences, there's so much infrastructure, I feel like there's potential for almost a ground-level SimCity-inspired game here, except with a driving core. I want to say the sky's the limit for what you could do with assets like this. I don't exactly know what I'm looking for here, but I bet some modder does. It's giving me that feeling. There is so much potential in this game that's being squandered, and for that, I'm giving this the Screaming to be Modded award. Some games you play through them, then you're done. Others are practically a lifestyle change. This is the latter, or it would be with mods. If this had the modability of something like the Elder Scrolls games, then this would honestly make it the dream game status for me. Because I'm sure someone would come up with all the basic mods I want and great things I haven't even thought of that could leave me playing this for years. But it doesn't, so on we go. And here's St. Louis. We have the arch. Yeah. And on we go down to Texas. While we're heading there, let's talk about the map a minute. I still think for its size, this is the most diverse open world driving game out there. But the more you travel, the more you start to see what they're doing. I'd say the maps are only about 15% original, fresh content and models, and about half the game is a remix of those, but one they did a good job on. See, this house is probably used somewhere else, but it looks like it belongs here, so good job. But about a third of the game is where they just copied and pasted too much. For example, almost every switchback feels exactly the same. And if we back up a little bit, look at this redwood forest. Sure, the models are impressive, but this is very basic from a mapping perspective. You have your basic geometric hill, a repeated tree model, and that's sort of it. To me, that says the game is just too big. They should have made it smaller. They couldn't fill in everything without cutting corners. Bigfoot! Now, one of the strengths of the game is you get glimpses of it being like the real thing. And approaching cities like Dallas here is a good example of that. If you're driving up in the evening, it gives that on the highway outskirts of the city feel, which is a hard thing to put into words, and I don't really see much of in other games. These moments never last very long. Yeah, see what I mean? But this game keeps giving me hints of what could be. And here we are in Dallas. It's pretty impressive, and we of course have some landmarks like the Reunion Tower or the Old Red Courthouse. Despite still being in the desert, I like Dallas more than the other Southwest cities in the game. I think because the architecture tries to make up for it. I feel like at least somebody knew what they were doing when they made Dallas. I didn't get that feeling from LA or Las Vegas. As we head out of Dallas, it's worth addressing that we are missing out on Hawaii and Alaska. Now, Hawaii isn't such a big loss because the Test Drive Unlimited series has you covered there. So that really just leaves Alaska. But Alaska is pretty big, so I can see why they decided to pass. I'll be honest though, given the choice, I think I would gladly trade in the entire Southwest for Alaska. Alaska has lush forest. The Southwest has scorpions. But there's still some left to see in it, like a dinosaur park. And in case you're wondering, no, this is not the same dinosaur park as the one in Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Moving on, we pass by Buchanan Dam, a golden horse statue in Fort Stockton, beautiful Port Arthur. We also swing by Port Isabel, which has kind of a nice tourist trap feel to it. And that is it for the desert. We are leaving and heading on to Nashville. Hey, why don't we talk about the music? The music falls into two categories. The first is music on the radio, which is just top chart stuff. About 60% of it didn't bother me, so that's above average compared to actual radio. I was surprised by one track though, which is easily the most intense song I've heard about kids playing at the beach. The other is the score composed for the campaign. Some of it is good. Some of it is forgettable. Then there's the menu music, and oh my god, is it good. This music gets it. This is what the game should be about. Just cruising by, seeing America, being awesome in your car. That is what the heart and soul of this game should be. Not this sad, boring guy mourning your dead brother, getting all dramatic. This is the wrong game for that. Thinking about somebody's dead brother doesn't put me in the mood for stunt jumps. How can they not understand that there's... So here we are in Nashville. Now, I have to say, I realize this is a scaled-down version of America, but it is kind of hilarious seeing Nashville reduced to a 2-block podunk town that happens to have a skyscraper. So that's Nashville, everyone. Guess we're heading to New Orleans. And back to the menu music for a second, let's talk about the menu. Now when this game came out, the menu music was awesome. Then they released an expansion, Wild Run. That menu music was different, and it was also awesome. Then they released Calling All Units, and the menu music is just very aggressive in a bland way, and not very nice to listen to. And that's it. That's what we're stuck with. You can't go back to the old version. And to add insult to injury, I don't even own these expansions. All they did for them was add some more cars and events. I didn't really care enough to spend more on it. If they had added Alaska, that would be a different story. But no, it felt pretty bare bones. And that's where it ends, with this stupid music theme for an expansion I don't even own when I could have been hearing the sweet original theme. And I have to hear this menu music. Look, I have the music turned off in-game. Doesn't matter. You still hear this dumb theme every single time, even with the music turned off. Again, this is a small thing, but it adds up because you'll be hearing it every single time you play the game. Why is... Oh, hold on. We've made it to New Orleans. New Orleans was a little bit of a disappointment to me, actually. I mean, they have some landmarks and the above-ground cemetery and some of the architecture you'd expect, but there weren't any people in costumes, corner musicians, drunks passed out in the street. It just felt kind of sterile to me. Yeah. Well, on to Miami. So back to the menu, let's talk about this damn intro. You have your opening logos, which they make you wait through every single time. It's not loading the game, it's just making you wait. Listen, I understand if a game needs time to load. Texture sizes are only getting bigger, and hey, this is a huge world. But that's not what this is. This is just wasting your time. It's 30 seconds every single time, and that's 30 seconds on top of loading times. Now, this is by no means the worst offender of games that do this. In fact, I'm curious which game is actually the worst for this sort of thing. And you might think 30 seconds is nothing, but you have to consider the frequency. If this was an 8-hour single-player campaign where I play it through once, then I'm done, this wouldn't be a big deal. But no, this is a game they want you to play again and again and again. They even give you game cache every day you log in. So whose decision is it to make this utterly unskippable? This is how you build resentment. Some games cut you a break and make the video clips easily accessible so you can circumvent them manually. Not here. This is just a dick move. Ubisoft has said that The Crew has been played by over 5 million people. So that means 4.75 years were wasted every time the player base ran it. See, it's the little things that take 15 minutes of work for the developer to fix, but have such a colossal impact that make you want to burn a studio to the ground. But hold that thought, because we are in Miami. It's got palm trees, yachts, beaches, and Spanish architecture, so I guess they did a fair job. If you're from Miami, you probably see a lot of problems with it. I've never been to Miami, so I don't know any better. On the way out, we get to see the Everglades. I do like how they have swamp ranger stations you can check out. I thought something that looked like this must have been made up, but nope, they're real. See, that's the beauty of a game like this. I'm an American and I didn't know about these. I can't paint my pickup red? Are you serious? And now we're heading to DC, but we'll make a stop through West Virginia first. I guess that means it's time to criticize the map again. This part of the world rarely feels believable at all. I'm not sure anyone on the development team has ever been to this part of the country. Okay, first we have these ridiculously wide country roads, so that's a problem. Plus, let's not forget ridiculously wide unmarked roads. This just isn't what streets look like in America. Next are the trees. They are way too sparse. Look at the gaps in the... Oh! Online-only gameplay, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to remind everyone, this is an online-only game. And this totally had nothing to do with this video being late. Okay, so, Alright, well, with the magic of editing, let's resume. As I was saying, forests like this are extremely rare in America. West Virginia is more like a temperate jungle, with every plant fighting for its inch of space. I know why they did this, though. It's so you can drive through it. Because realistically, you're not driving through this without a tank. So what are we getting from this? This is what we're getting. Endless copy-paste forest. This is no good. Even though this is the second largest driving game out there, they should have gutted all of this, focused on the roads instead. It would have been a better game. The size of your game is pointless if it's all just the same junk over and over. There's nothing wrong with reusing assets, but you have to be smart about it. Also, despite having hills, I'd say the terrain is more smoothed out than it really is. That could be an engine limitation, since racing games don't want jutting angles everywhere, but that combined with the forest and the wide roads constantly gives me a literal uncanny valley feeling I just can't shake off. Well, here's a giant strip mine to make things better. Those excavators should be able to fix our terrain problems, huh? I don't know, I've seen giant quarry driving games before. And that reminds me, let's talk about the rating of this game. This is rated T for teens. I think entirely because of the forgettable campaign. They murder your brother and use some language, and I think that's about it. I feel like this is so wishy-washy. They should either just drop the pointless drama and make the game rated for everyone, because why not? Or else give us more mileage for our teen rating. I can think of one thing I want to see: ragdoll physics. See, every pedestrian just gets out of your way, even when they don't. Now these reactions are good, I like these. Especially when they drop something they're holding. It reminds me of a prank video where this guy rigged speakers so his roommate heard a car screeching. But come on, if this is teen rated, can't we have some ragdoll action too? We don't have to kill them, they can get right back up. I just want to see them roll off my hood. But let's check out DC. On the way up, we see the Pentagon, which isn't as impressive from the ground as it is from the air. But in DC, yeah, this kind of feels like Washington, DC. I really am impressed how mappers can recreate the feel of a place by just grabbing the right details and scaling it down. I wouldn't know where to begin with that. It really is a skill set. We have many of the usual monuments, the Washington Memorial, the White House, the Capitol, although the Lincoln Memorial looks a little different than I remembered it. And with that, we head to New York. I guess I'm running out of criticisms, but I have a few left, so let's talk about other drivers. I don't like them. This is an online-only game, but it's so rich in content, it may as well be a single-player game also. The developers of this created the Test Drive Unlimited games, and those are great single-player games if you just wanted to drive around. The Crew is practically the same thing. Well, other players in this game are kind of like players in DayZ. They may leave you alone, but there's a good chance they'll try to kill you for no reason. I would be cruising along, then bam, someone's determined to ram me. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah, I see you. The only thing you can do is run away to another part of the country and hope they don't find you. Come get me now, punks. I'm in Nebraska. And here we are in New York. They do not hold back on the copy and pasting here, but I admit, it really is huge. You get a good sense of scale looking at it from a highway far away, actually. And I realize this is the case in every major city, but in New York especially, the traffic density is amusing. I don't think there are ever this few cars on the road in New York without something involving the National Guard. Anyway, here's Washington Square Arch, the Unisphere, and Coney Island. What's interesting about New York is I was trying to see everything, and the more time I spent in New York, the more I started feeling a little depressed. So I think they must have done a pretty good job on portraying the city. And from here, Joey went on to Woodstock, but since we don't have that, I guess we'll check out the Northeast, then we'll end up on my favorite spot. Now, even though I'm probably only one of 5 people to have this association, I like how we have the Cape Cod area because it reminds me of the Test Drive 3 Cape Cod expansion. And you know, as much crap as I've talked about this game, it's still better than Test Drive 3 in every way, really. Well, except the night driving. That's still better in Test Drive 3. And the midday lighting. Look out, Amish. Beep, beep. We have some coastal towns in Maine that look nice. And I hope you like Paul Bunyan because the Northeast is littered with statues of him. It makes me wonder if there's a state code somewhere where if you open up a lumber yard, you're required to have a Paul Bunyan statue somewhere on the premises. And of course, we have Niagara Falls, which is a little underwhelming compared to the real thing. But again, compared to Test Drive 3, we're looking good. Finally, I like the location of this bus stop. This is for the Forest Bus. And that almost concludes our trip, so I have another award. America the Beautiful. Again, there are many other games out there that look better than this, but nothing even comes close to giving you the full USA experience like The Crew. Even if it's a cardboard cutout with a lot of problems, it's the best cardboard cutout out there. This game is king of the cardboard. But I guess we need to get the dark and ugly part out of the way. Yes, this game is going to die. It relies on a central server, and neither Ubisoft nor Ivory Tower have made any statement regarding an end-of-life plan. So without divine intervention, in the future, you're never going to be able to play this game. Now, how long do you have? Well, at the time of this video, The Crew 2 is just released. So there's no way they're going to shut it down this year. That would be a little too bold. Now, this is tricky to calculate, but we can make some educated guesses. The only non-free-to-play game I know of that Ubisoft has currently killed 100% has been Shadowbane. That lasted 6 years before going down. However, Ubisoft had a crapload of online multiplayer shutdowns last year. The longest running one being 7 years, I think. So if we want to be generous and say 8, that puts the Crew's current lifespan at anywhere from 1 to 4 years. And my maximum estimate, I believe that will be the longest online support of any game Ubisoft has published so far. Shadowbane didn't make it to 7 years even with a petition. You know, once upon a time, a company dropping support didn't mean the game stopped working. All it meant was they dropped support. You had to troubleshoot it yourself. Boy, I'd love to go back to that model. And they are going to kill this game. In 2016, less than 2 years after release, they gave away this game for free for everyone who grabbed it. Then they did it again later that year. That is not something you do with a high-status, well-performing game. Now, I was a sucker. I bought a copy for 12 bucks. I didn't expect them to just give it away for free. Some people ask me why I care so much about dead games. This is why. I saw this coming. I knew eventually it was going to affect a game I really cared about. And now it's just a matter of time. I consider it a gaming tragedy to make something with so much effort and content behind it, only to intentionally kill it so no one will ever play it again. You know, the Statue of Liberty is a gift from France and is still one of the most iconic monuments of America. I want to say the Crew is another national treasure from France. But you know what? France didn't take the statue back and dismantle it. But that's what Ubisoft is going to do with this game. So in a way, they're killing America. On the plus side, I'm slowly working on a legal campaign to make this business practice of taking people's money then intentionally destroying their product illegal, because I think it already is in various countries and just isn't being enforced. But that's going to be a long process if it even works. I'll have videos on that later. So what about The Crew 2? Well, I haven't really followed it since I'm not sure if I want another game to give me an existential crisis like this one has. I know they're improving the water and adding boats for river racing. Yeah, okay, I can go with that. They're also adding planes though, which I'm not sure is a great idea, because then you're literally turning America into flyover country. The entire strength of this game is soaking up the US, not skipping over it. PC Games N had an article on how to quit the game. That's not a good sign. Ultimately, it's hard for me to get excited about the sequel when I know they're gonna kill off the original. And the sequel too, for that matter. But as for the original, every time I play this game, I'm fascinated and given a sense of wonder of wanting to explore all across America. And every time I'm also constantly reminded how horrible some of these design choices are. It's like watching an Olympic athlete train vigorously, eat a perfect diet, only to watch him forget to tie his shoes before the race. I wanted to give this game the all-time favorite. It was close, but I can't. There are too many problems. If I could control the day cycle and I knew they weren't going to kill the game permanently, that would be enough. But instead, it gets the love and hate award. I have so many delusions of grandeur for this game. I won't go over it all. Here's my list if you're interested. Like those glimpses of greatness I see on the road sometimes, The Crew has given me a window of looking into what could be, though it's still leaving me stuck on the other side. Alright, so let's finish the road trip. I said I'd take you to my favorite spot? Well, it's a three-way tie. First, we have the Illinois Fairgrounds, since I already love fairs, but how can I say no to one where you go in a giant clown mouth to enter? Next, we have Punxsutawney, which I'm sure only even exists in this game because of Groundhog Day. Now, I'm skeptical if there are this many statues of Punxsutawney Phil in town, but it's nice. I like it. And finally, we have Salem, Massachusetts, which The Crew has decided is Halloween Town all year long. I doubt that's true, but sign me up. And that's the game. There's a lot I left out, but I think we still had a good taste of America in this game. I mean, damn, how much would it have cost to actually drive this much? A lot, that's how much. Actually, I'm confused by their math here. Oh well. I hope everyone has a happy 4th of July. Had a happy 4th of July. And stay tuned for the next episode for a movie-based game. Yeah. Oh, you know what? We forgot about Detroit. So here's Detroit. See, there's the sign. Over here's the auto industry. So, yeah. Welcome to Detroit, everyone.